As mentioned earlier, today we have the amazing opportunity to hear from Celia Mejia, who is the Assistant Director in Student Life and Development. With that being said, I'll pass the mic over to Celia. So Celia, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Marvin. I'm excited to share with you guys a little bit more about student life and development here at the beach, and just explain a little bit of like how can they be involved, students be involved, where can they look for opportunities, and what our office can do for them. I think I do start with a little quick overview of our office with a quick video, so I'll go ahead and start that. And normally we would share this video at a different section, but I was like, why not start with it? That was literally an overview of all that we offer here in our office. So the next thing I like to say is, does your student do this? And most often I get lots of yes, at home, everywhere. So in today's society, a lot of us, which also includes ourselves, we also find in our free time, or not necessarily free time, looking down at some sort of screen. So a lot of our students are, especially with the Zoom world that we all just, some of us are still on Zoom worlds and some of us are now in person. Some students are virtual, some are not, are still on a screen. So a lot of the communication interactions have been missed. And how do we incorporate those back? And the willingness to students to engage in a personal level can be hard, and that's something we are seeing. And also with the social skills and not feeling comfortable attending certain things or going on their own, right? Which can be a conflict for them. That do they feel safe? Can they go to certain places? Can they just attend a meeting that they find on campus? And the answer is yes, they can go. Students here at the beach are very welcoming, and most of the meetings anyways on campus are open, so they can attend most of anything. And also what I do recommend is Instagram. Everyone, all our students are most often on Instagram. Message them, say, hey, I'm interested, can I attend? Using different platforms and engaging in a positive way of using your phone and social media to engage and actually be present at their meetings on campus, or their events that they're hosting in actual in-person somewhere on campus that they might be having or hosting their event at that time. And a lot of times we forget. So these, what skills and abilities do you see? So these are crucial. And a lot of times we forget that the in-classroom skills we get, most often it's a lot of knowledge from professors or instructors that provide each classes, but all of these skills and abilities we get outside most often of the classroom setting. And a lot of times our students do not know where to get these and are confused. Like, well, how do I get all these skills when I'm not able to? I don't have time, and the list goes on and on. But it's also engaging with the student in regards to, well, what do they have going on? What does their schedule look like? Do they work? Do they have free time? What does their free time look like? Can they stay one evening on campus and attend an event or an organization meeting? And that's when most often you will see that they start gathering the skill sets that then they can start adding on their resume, which fits in right next to my other point. My next slide would be what skill sets what skill sets do employers value? A lot of times, I think the key issue is that our students I love it. Here at the beach, we're all about academics. They're inundated in their classroom work and they're in it, and which is amazing. But the part of the other thing is employers, and especially nowadays, they're looking for more than just a good grade, the good GPA. If we speak about nursing, it used to be about the grade, and now it's more than that. Yes, still make sure they have a competitive GPA, but someone that's engaged in other aspects is most likely to be even way more competitive than that person with a solid GPA, but no extra experience and the social skills that are important to be in the nursing field. And a lot of times we do get that feedback back from employers, like, thank you for sending us students that are well prepared. So I'm like, yes, we're doing something right here at the beach. And a lot of times it's like, do we get all students? No, we get as many students as we can. So that's key aspect. Some things that we also miss sometimes is that we forget that students also need to actively engage. So a lot of times you see different departments, different resources on campus out there tabling, you see student organizations out there tabling, and they don't pick up the flyers. So they also choose to not pick up information, so then they don't get that resource. Or oftentimes they don't open that email and they don't know what's happening on campus. So that's something that you all can engage with your students about, that what's going on campus. And maybe it's asking that simple question. It's like, do you have anything fun going on campus? And is there something cool that you could attend? Or what are you doing? Or asking these important questions for them to really be like, I'm not really doing anything with my free time. And that's when it's like, well, did you get any emails about events? Or did you see people tabling or handing out information? So those would be key things. And again, getting them closer to getting these skill sets that most often are valued by employers, or internships that potentially they are planning on receiving during their time in getting their academics and their main goal, graduating from the beach, which goes on with graduation timeline. It's been proven that spending 6 to 20 hours in co-curricular activities actually helps the students enroll and graduate on time. And a lot of times my students do say, it's like, well, I'm working and I'm doing this and I'm doing X, Y, and Z. And a lot of times we need to also, if the students are working, they don't have time, and we really see their schedules and they cannot fit, co-curricular could be counted as work too. So it's like, how can we help our student get the skill sets also with what they're doing? And it could be also, it's like, can we help them not work as much so they could participate and engage in other actual campus co-curricular activities? So those are also questions about how are we supporting them? What can we do for them to also get the skill sets that they need outside of the regular academic and actual coursework and study time, which again can be a little bit hard depending on the student schedule. But again, it goes back to how can we help them figure out their schedule and actually engage and feel comfortable engaging. So again, it might be pushing our students to get out of the uncomfortable zone and just engage with different students. So again, that could be a possible option as well. A lot of times it's like, so we all know this, but where do we start? And there's 3 key things that I usually suggest for students to do, and where you could also send your student to. The first one is to visit BeachSync, visit our office, and attend Week of Welcome, which I'll spread each one individually as well. Here, I will show you guys an image of what BeachSync looks like. The next slide. This is a screenshot of what it looks like on our events page. So a lot of times, like, where do I find events? I don't know. If they open BeachSync and look at these events, they'll see where they're located, a small description, and a title. And as you guys see here, a flyer for the event. So then a lot of times, like, I don't know where to find events. BeachSync is a great one. We also do stakes on campus. Poster stakes are grass areas on campus that have information about events. I often see students going up to the flyer and just taking a screenshot of that poster. So they work, so students are interested. So it's really engaging outside of your normal areas to look at where do they want to spend their spare time. Even this screenshot I wanted to take from current events, and this is actually a screenshot from today. So even one of them is like general meeting number 2. So we're barely in the starts of everyone meeting, so it's still not late to get involved this semester, or even if it was later in the semester, it's never really too late to start engaging. The other part is our student life and development office. I thought this was a great addition, but this was our office last October. So we do also, it fits in right as we're coming into the end of September, moving on to October. But our office is also a good segue. We have a lot of student assistants that can also assist in like helping them peer-to-peer of like what they're involved in, a few examples. But our office is also a good area to start with. And it's like, I'm lost, or like this student organization, I'm interested, but potentially they haven't been responding, and they might be responding because they are not active, which that way then they know they're not an active organization that semester. So then they can also see, okay, sounds good, let me see what else of interest do I find. So this is a place to stop by and just ask for more information, and we more than welcome students to just ask questions and really see where they want to get involved, because it can be hard and it can be challenging, and it's, as I always say, it's a good start to just get more information and feel comfortable in approaching a campus resource on campus. And the last one is Week of Welcome. Week of Welcome, this is a short video. Let me see if I know it had audio, but it might not have audio, and that's completely fine because the actual images are the ones that matter. Here we go. And that's a quick little video of what Week of Welcome is. Week of Welcome takes place fall and spring semesters, usually the second week of school. What I usually like to tell students when I engage with them is do your homework. Go to Beach Sync, go see the stakes that are outdoors, gather a list of like 10 clubs, and then make sure you have like some sort of information about them on, make a list on your phone, make a list on paper, anywhere. And then at Week of Welcome, look them up. Majority of our student organizations do table at Week of Welcome, but I will say there are some that don't. So not everyone does Week of Welcome, but for the most part, all of them are out there. So what I then tell students is like, you have this list, go down the list, go find them, and then engage with them. Ask when they're meeting, what time they're meeting, what their events look like. And I do tell them, like, you also know what kind of group you want to, and you also know if they're very inviting or they're more like avoiding or not even engaging with you. So they get the vibe. So if they get the vibe, like, yeah, these are my people, and this is the kind of information and events I want, then you know you can keep them on your list. But if you approach a table and they're not giving them the information and they're not even asking or engaging with them, then you know those are not your type of people, and then they can move on to the next one and erase or scratch out that one. So that's mostly what I recommend them to do, because a lot of times it's like, well, where do I find them? How do I engage? And that's one key thing. Do your homework and then a 10-week of welcome and find them. A lot of times, like I mentioned at the very start, students do not want to engage or attend because they don't want to go alone. Week of Welcome, it doesn't matter if you go alone or not, because everyone's out there. So that's more of a comfortable vibe for people to be out there and put themselves out there, because everyone is out there. It doesn't matter if you're alone or not, because everyone's just walking through the many tabling options. So that's another big one, Week of Welcome, again, fall and spring, that they can also engage in, which again, let's say this is the first semester of a student. This would be they still have time to see more, like, okay, let's do research all fall of what I really want to be involved in. And now spring, actually get to know these people and get to know if they're active and what kind of things they're doing. Plus, if they want to give this semester, like, let me really see if I can do academics, the other area they can see is like, what events are they really hosting this fall semester? As we all know, we are coming back from COVID slowly. And so this semester has actually been the most engaging in-person semester we've had in a while. So they could also see like, what are they doing? Am I really interested? And then spring really be like, yeah, they actually did really cool stuff in person or hybrid or Zoom that I'm interested in. So again, these are different areas, and what I usually recommend, Week of Welcome is a great one to just really know if they really are interested in investing their time in those types of organizations or leadership opportunities. And are there any questions?
Fantastic. All right, so thank you so much for all the information. Alrighty, folks, now it's your opportunity to ask your questions to our speaker for today. You'll be able to ask your questions by going into the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Once again, that everyone just joined us, you'll use your mouse to scroll to the very bottom of your screen, and then a toolbar will pop up. Then you'll see a symbol that says Q&A with two little thought bubbles. Click on it, and then a new window should pop up that will allow you to ask questions. And then for all of our folks who are watching us out on Facebook World, all you have to do is submit your question to the Q&A function, and then from there you'll be able to actually ask your question, then our team will be able to relay it to us and we'll answer it. Let's see, one of the first questions that we saw is, my student let me know a few days ago that they were really interested in joining a club, but were struggling to get in contact with them via Instagram and BeachSync. Sorry, yeah. What's another avenue that they could follow to get in contact with that club?
That's a great question. And it actually will be stopping by or communicating to our office. So all of our staff and student life and development are assigned different organizations that we advise specifically, so one-on-one. So then if they do come into our office or get in communication with us and notify us, let's say it is sociology club, and they haven't been responsive, then we can connect with them, because whoever that advisor for sociology club can connect with them and see what's going on. It might be that during transition of officers, there's a different Instagram now because of the change of officers, or there's a different, they haven't changed their leadership on BeachSync this fall. We do have, usually the turnover for elections is spring, so fall semester we have new officers, and they haven't updated BeachSync, so they're not as updated on BeachSync just yet, which actually goes right in hand of why potentially they haven't been receiving our response, because our registration for student organizations deadline is October 1st. So that might be also why, but I really encourage them just to stop by our office, or also give us a call and let us know so we can connect them with that advisor, and then they can connect them with that organization.
Thank you, Celia. All right. This is a very common question that we get a lot of times from students as well. My student was very involved with sports in high school, and they would love to be able to play a sport again in college. Unfortunately, they they weren't quote unquote that great to make it onto the NCAA teams. Are there any clubs on campus that they can join that's sports related, or are there any sports teams that they can join?
Yes, so club sports, we do have a variety, and there's so many. So the only key thing would be to look at our club sports page on our website and see which ones are active. There's so many, and I know currently it's still time to do so. And just because they're not the university or more recognized title groups, it doesn't mean that they're not great, because a lot of our club sports actually compete and travel, and to do amazing things that are actually really good. And a lot of times students don't think that. Thank you, Mario, for putting the link. Because it's like, we obviously, as any student, we have high standards. And because it's not the same level we thought, we get discouraged. But actually club sports and other area that they can continue doing what they want. And it goes back to the skill sets I said. A lot of people think, well, it's sports. How can you get the skill sets? You can, because it's still part of a sport, leadership, interacting, team building. There's most often like leadership that has to be done, finances for travel. How do you get funds to travel? Alumni. So those skill sets are also found in club sports, in not the regular sports titles, but in a different area that's still competitive, and they still travel and compete.
Great. Thanks, Celia. Let's see. This person asks, I know you mentioned that you and others are the advisors for these clubs. Is there any other supervision that these clubs have to work with, or is there anybody that helps make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing?
That's a good question, that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. All organizations should have, or actually should, I know, they have their constitution and bylaws that they should follow. And anytime someone does something they shouldn't do on campus, somehow it always comes back to our office. So usually we're notified, we get an email with the student leadership, so whoever that chapter organization president is. And if it's more severe, it already adds the conduct office to the email. Most often it usually does include our email, and then we address it. And if it has to be addressed through conduct, it will be addressed through conduct. But I usually tell my students, please let us know when we meet and talk about certain things. And I do kind of say, anytime that you all don't update me and something happens, you all end up in conduct. So that's my way for them to let us know, really, like, what are you doing, and how are you doing things. So most of our students are amazing anyways, so they do follow their constitution and bylaws, especially when having or engaging in conflict within members or leadership. That's where we also step in and support them in that way. So we do meet them with the leadership regularly, and they keep us updated. So it's not like they're free flowing, because at the end of the day, we also approve their events on campus, and have that supervision and planning and doing finances for certain things and applying for funding on campus as well.
Speaking of funding, this is my next question. This person asks, is it free to join every club, or is there some sort of membership fee?
Well, it actually depends. So there's academic clubs, special interests, cultural, religious, fraternity, sorority life, club sports. So all of them vary in the fees. So even within club sports, depending on the club, it might be more expensive. Same with fraternity, sorority life. There's some chapters with houses, some without. Some are smaller fees, some are larger fees. It really depends. And then with our regular student organization or academic clubs, there is a membership fees, and that ranges. But is it expensive? I would say no, depending on that organization needs and what they do. Obviously, if they're a national level organization, so if we're talking about a national fraternity or sorority, there's extra fees, so that might be a little bit more expensive for that reason. But any other general ones usually are just membership prices for like feeding the student organizations. Maybe there's a t-shirt that they get. So as I say, there's a membership fee, but most often you get something with that membership fee. So food and a t-shirt throughout the year. So it's also a good question to ask, like, what's my membership money going towards? And most often the student leadership for the organization should have the ability to explain where those funds will be going to.
Thank you, Celia. Let's see. In the event that my student wants to get involved now, I know you mentioned that it wasn't too late to get involved, but is there anything that is there a better time for them to join? Would it be better to wait until spring to join instead of right now?
That's another good question. It varies student to student. I have students that actually already joined right now, and they're having a great experience. I have others that decided not to join anything and just take a seat back and see what their schedule looks like and how good they do in their academics before getting involved. So it really depends. And I think the background also stems to, like, how good were they at studying in high school, because college is different. So I do have a few, like, let me adjust to college life before I jump in, and others that are ready to find their family, to find their engagement opportunities, that they just jump right into it and explore it right off the bat. So it really just depends with their schedule and how comfortable they feel and how ready they are.
Thank you, Celia. Uh, you mentioned a little earlier about academic clubs. Do these clubs help with tutoring, or are they the ones tutoring other students?
Very good question. So these are regular. So actually, I'm going to use the example I used sociology earlier. Sociology, for example, the sociology club. It's based on students that fall into the sociology major or minor, and anyone else that is interested in the topic could also join. So it's not closed to only those majors, but specifically those majors are the ones you will find in the sociology club. What's really cool about this is that every organization on campus has a faculty or staff advisor on top of our office advisor. So what we like about that is that Most often it's a faculty instructor in the sociology department. So most often they're connected to research, they're connected to conferences, they're connected to different other areas that they can support that club with. So the club is there to run business, regular business, and to create events that deal with sociology and to connect students to other resources that are beneficial to their major.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lydia. Once again, folks, for everyone that's just joining us, if you want to ask a question about student life and development, you'll be able to do so by submitting it to the Q&A button at the very bottom of your screen. All you have to do is run your mouse to the bottom, and then from there you'll see a Q&A thought box, and then click on it, and then a box will pop up that will allow you to actually ask your question. With that being said, let's see. You My student wants to get involved with fraternity life here on your campus, but I'm very wary about it because of everything they see in the news. How safe is it for students to join fraternities and sororities on campus?
Like any different organizations, pretty safe, which is actually interesting. I oversee fraternity and sorority life here at the beach. We just finished recruitment, which doesn't mean they can't join. We do continuous open bidding. A lot of students of our chapters do. So then you can join at any given time, depending on if the student chapters are intaking membership. But it's relatively safe during my time here. I also, compared to other campuses too, here our community, everyone thinks of fraternity and sorority and it's like, oh my gosh, high risk and it's dangerous. It's actually one of our most engaging student population on campus. They're the ones that do community service, philanthropic events. And I like to take the credit to say that they were the most active during virtual world and doing philanthropic fundraising and just being active in different creative ways with their members and virtually. So it's pretty much a safe community like the rest of our other communities, club sports, and our regular student organizations. So again, I think you're just digging a little bit more to, especially fraternity and sorority life, because every chapter is different and every chapter encompasses different efforts and different, like I mentioned at the vibe, get the vibe at Week of Welcome. Each fraternity and sorority has a different vibe. So it's like, where does your student fit in? And it's also an area they could possibly give a try.
Thanks, Celia. Let's see. How many clubs does your campus have?
A lot. So when I said do your homework, it's a lot. But luckily, Beach Thing does, if your student goes to Beach Things, they can search. So if they search fraternity and sorority life, all the fraternities and sororities will pop up. So that limits them. We have 37 total chapters on campus and within fraternity and sorority life. And then if they search academics, those academics come up only. So it's very large. Right now, I would say it'd be like over 300, I'm pretty sure over 400 student organizations on campus. But again, Beach Thing's a good tool to sort by interest. So club sports, if they search by club sports, only club sports will pop up. So based on interest, and that will ease up the stress of like how many and having to go through each one. So again, narrowing down the focus of where they want to engage and then searching off of that. I will add on real quick, if you find them on Beach Thing, your student most likely find them on Instagram. Instagram will give them also a good idea of what they do in their events and how engaged they are, and also already give them a little snippet of who their membership and what kind of membership they constitute, because they most often will post after events or general meetings or flyers or things like that.
Thank you, Celia. We actually have a question from Facebook. Let's see. If my student ends up wanting to drop out of an organization that had a membership fee, would they be able to get a refund?
It actually depends. Most often, again, constitution and bylaws is a good one to check if that is already listed there. The other part is a lot of times there's some sort of like signing to do for joining anything, and that's if the signing of something said you won't get a reimbursement, then that would be another area that the student wouldn't be able to get a reimbursement. And if there is none, another good, and they don't no longer want to participate, a good way to, and let's say this organization say no, always reach out back to our office and we can help mitigate that as well.
Fantastic. Let's see. Is your office hiring students, or are they not affiliated with the clubs on campus?
Yeah, so our office actually, we are full right now, so we're already full. But we do hire. We hire our students in the beginning of fall semester. So our students are all, some of them are already engaged in other student organizations, and some are actually freshmen. So they're actually really excited. We're so happy we found you. I found you, and we work for you all, because now I can see what I want to be involved with, and our engagement in the office can connect us with it. So we do hire, and when we do hire, it's at the beginning of fall semester or spring semester, depending if we have assistants are graduating.
In your opinion, do you think it's better for a student to get involved in a club or to get involved with an internship?
That's a good question. I would say it really depends on their timeline. If they're a freshman, most often getting an internship right now, they're not as competitive because they don't have the experience yet, and they recently just graduated. So getting that backbone, so getting the skill set, getting engaged in student organizations, and then as they go on through their years at the beach, they get those skill sets, they get competitive. So now their resume is looking good to get into that internship. So if they move on to the internship, that means limited amount of time. So that means they're not as engaged in their previous engagement, which was a student organization. So it really depends on the journey of the student, but most often that's kind of like what I literally explained right now, what our students do, because internships are very competitive, and most often I do see like third, fourth years receiving and doing more of the internships at that time, during that time period of their time at the beach.
Thank you, Celia. This is actually an interesting question. Um, this person shares they're an employer, and usually whenever they hire a student out of college, they look to see what kind of things they're involved with during their undergrad. They love seeing that certain clubs have budgets, memberships, and so forth. Do you know of any campus events or clubs that have similar formats that run similar to like a business?
They all should run like a business, actually. They have regular, all of our student organizations follow Robert's Rules of Order. So they do meeting minutes, they run motions. They all should have an account with our, it's called our ASI business office. So everyone has their money in the business office. Provide us budgets for all events. What I would say would depend on how active the organization is, that they actually get more skills from doing them. So if they're not as active, obviously the student doesn't get as much experience with it. We currently we run a fashion show on campus. It's called Campus Couture, which is also put on by our students. So oftentimes that students forget, it's like, if you want to get that finance experience and you're a business major, you obviously it's like, oh, I should join a business organization. What students forget is like there's opportunities like Campus Couture, the fashion show, that they could be the budgeting finance person for and get skill sets that way. And they ran a budget for a large scale fashion show that takes place at the pyramid. So a lot of times it's very interesting how you could get the experiences that are relevant to what the student wants to do. So again, it'd be looking to see at the opportunities on campus and where they take them. But majority, if anything, all of them should be running business-like procedures during their meetings, and obviously budget event proposals for all of their events.
Thank you, Celia. So we have a few more questions. Let's see. Can my student only be involved with clubs during their undergrad, or only 4 years, or can they be involved for as long as they're an undergrad there?
I know most often it is during their time here as an undergrad. There are opportunities as alumni level as well for different or student organizations, and to be an advisor, to come back, alumni events and stuff like that. But most often it's during their undergraduate years. Club sports and fraternity sorority life are probably the ones I see more alumni returners than normal organizations.
Great. Let's see. This looks like this will be our last question for the day. Um, my student's very nervous about getting involved on campus and has been sharing with me that they don't want to approach clubs because of how large they are. Any advice on what I could share with my student to help them not be so shy to go ask questions?
Yeah, like that's what I mentioned. It kind of seems scary to put yourself out there. And it really is because, and I do tell my students, like, you all need to stop being that intimidating. And it's not that they're intimidating, but they're so excited. So they might seem a little extra excited. And so by their excitement, they might seem intimidating to approach. But I would really recommend to get out of their comfort zone and ask, go in there and ask. All of our students, at least on my end that I've encountered and engaged with, are really nice, and will engage with them. A lot of times, especially now, which I kind of see where this question is going, because we've seen that students, the social aspect on campus for more of our younger students, it's a little bit difficult and they don't know necessarily how to engage, but it's like, it's not their fault. We've been living on Zoom classes and Zoom engagements. So how do you come back to a normal, what is campus normal? Even for us administrators, it hasn't been the same fall as we had before COVID. So it's also learning. So I think it's also letting them know that it's okay to feel uncomfortable, because a lot of times, like, is it just me? Am I not the one engaging? Should I have already been engaging? Am I the only one that's not engaging? So our students do get those questions, because it also comes down to, like, I need to find my family here and I need to find my friends now. And they get stressed because of it. So I would really just recommend to, if that's an area or a student organization they really want to engage in, let them know, encourage them to just try it out. It doesn't hurt, because it might be where they find their family, their friends, their lifelong friends, and they could find them earlier than later. And again, I do have seen a lot that they are struggling to, like, I thought finding friends was going to be easier. And a lot of times, like, well, what are you doing to do so? It's like, well, I just go to class and go back to my dorm. Well, there's missing components there. So then that's where we speak with them. It's like, all right, so where are you interested? Where can you go? Maybe go to the library more often, and you hear conversations like, oh, that's pretty cool. I overheard you say that you're part of such and such club. Can I get more information? So even with that student not wanting to engage with a large group, they might find smaller groups of members that they know they're part of that club and approach them in a different way. That's not that big of a large group. What I also recommend is that student organizations usually do have meetings. And if they attend one of those that's advertised, a lot of times at the end, usually the officers stay last. So of that student organization. So then it's waiting till the meeting ends and say, like, hey, I'm new. Are there any suggestions, or I'm interested, or is there anything I need to follow up for membership? So that's another idea I can throw out there of how to be easier to engage with student organizations.
Fantastic. That was amazing advice, Celia. I know it's very, very hard, especially being back on campus with a school of over 40,000 students. It can be very, very intimidating.
Mhm.
Uh, that does conclude today's portion of today's questions. But before we go, we do want to share some last minute thoughts with all of you, just to ensure that you have the information to not just leave with great information from Celia, but also from our PFO staff here. So on the screen right now, you're able to see we're inviting you to all please join our Beach Valley portal. The portal allows you to get involved with online orientations, program tours, and ongoing events like this one, for example. You also have a chance to receive some personalized letters, as well as hear announcements from us on what things are happening here on campus. If you aren't involved in the Beach Valley portal yet, no worries. Right now, we're going to drop a link in the chat that'll allow you to actually join the portal. It's very easy to do. All you have to do is click on the link, and then it'll ask you to insert your email, and then from there, you'll be able to join the portal. So let's see. There it is. So then from there, you actually be able to join the portal and let us know how you can get involved. With that being said, in the event that you remember a question on your drive home or over the weekend, or you just think of a question you want answered and don't know where to start with, you can contact our office. At the very bottom, you see our PFO email, which is parent and family programs at csulb.edu. Or if you have a question for Celia or for the SLD team, their email is studentlife@csulb.edu. We're all here to support you and ensure that your student has the proper resources to be successful here at the beach. So once again, if you don't know where to start with our offices. And last but not least, we want to say thank you to everyone for joining us today, and also want to give Celia a chance to share any last thoughts that she wants with the audience. I know that she's been sharing a lot of information, but this is just your chance, Celia, to share any last thoughts with the audience one last time.
No, thank you all for joining. I think it's great that you guys are involved in your students' journey here, and that way they don't feel alone, because it can be scary because it is a large campus. So thank you all for joining, and definitely communicate with us if you all have any questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Celia. And last but not least, we are a learning institution and we're constantly trying to get better. So right now we're going to drop a link in the chat that actually allow all of you to let us know how we did. Want to hear from you, how we can improve, make it better, what you liked, what you want to see get better for next time. And we know that we'll be hosting these series throughout the entire semester, and so these really help us get better. With that being said, like City was saying earlier, it can be very intimidating being here at the beach with a completely new campus, with new people, new faces, a bunch of new things. And we know it'll be very tough, but with your support, we know that your student can do it. And again, we hope that you all were able to take a lot of information from this meeting. Hopefully, you all can take it back to support your student. And again, if you have any questions, please let us know. We thank you all for your time. We hope you all have a great day. And as always, we'll see you all next time. Go Beach!